Hey there, very good morning. It's Isma as usual back again from FX Kampala. Like we said in our previous video that we shall be looking at fundamental analysis or how you can trade markets using news, which they call news in brackets, but it's actually called fundamental analysis. Now, by definition, fundamental analysis is basically trading other factors that affect the market besides the speculational factors. These factors can either be political, social, or economic factors. Now, these ones impact the market in a way that they make the market in either move in a particular direction. If interpreted very well, can help you profit on that particular move. Now, with this series of videos that we're going to be creating, we shall look at different steps one takes to definitely trade the markets using fundamentals and profitably. In the video today, we're going to be looking at a few things to do with the fundamentals. The first was the introduction, and this video we're going to mainly put our concentration on accessibility. How do we get this news? Then we will not only further stop from there, we shall look at the interpretation of different major fundamentals. That, let's say, if there is any news, how do we interpret it? How are we in position to come to a particular decision, conclusion that now we should buy, we should sell? So it's basically going to be accessibility. Where do we get this news? Secondly, we shall look at the different interpretation on how we can interpret news, and later on we shall look at the major economic fundamentals that impact the market. Just like in technical analysis, we have what we call the major indicators. Now here we also have what we call as major indicators. For this case, we call them the major fundamentals. So we're going to be looking at each, okay? Rather, we'll look at the detail, most of them, and then later on we shall see we shall have a special video for each and every major fundamentals. If you haven't subscribed, please do, such that you do enjoy the content that we do release on our YouTube channel, such that you also become profitable in a world of trading with the information, with the video that we do release to you. Without any wastage of time, let's get directly on what we are supposed to look at this particular video. Now, in this particular video, we said fundamental analysis is basically trading the social, political, and economic news besides the speculation of factors. By this, someone can decide to buy or to sell the market based upon the other factors that can be social, political, or economic. But this time round, our interest is going to be on economic factors. However, we can also trade social factors. We can also trade political factors. By economic factors, we're looking at factors such as unemployment. We're going to look at factors such as GDP, because these ones, when the government releases them, eventually they will affect the market, and by so it impacts it, which eventually means that if you probably on the right side, or if you take advantage of this news release, you can definitely make money out of this particular move. So we said economic factors. We're going to look at the GDP, unemployment. We can look at the retail sales. We can look at the PMI. There, the list. Okay, there are quite a number of them. However, we also have social factors. Social factors can be, let's say, like World Cup. Let's say like any big function that eventually impacts the market. Okay, it can be a conference, a social conference. It can be a social meetup. It can be anything that is social but eventually impacts the market in either negative way or positive way. Then political, it can be election day, it can be demonstrations, and a lot more. So these ones impact the market, by so we need to take them serious. Eventually, they're going to help us make profits if we take them, if we take advantage of them. So the first things first, what is news? Basically, to make this clear, it is like this. For news, the reason as to why fundamentals are called news, because it is mandatory. It is assigned for a government. It's an assignment for the government to make sure that its citizens, its people are informed about certain things. So it has to release information on a monthly basis. That is for stable economies. Now, with stable economies, if there is an increment in the GDP, they make sure that on a monthly basis they do release the GDP figures. Now, by so, it's now at a point that you can compare that if the GDP of last month was this, and the GDP of, okay, let's say it was 10, and the GDP of this month is 20, definitely this signifies that there is an increment in general productivity. So if there is an increment in general productivity, it signifies, it shows a couple of things are taking place. People are having jobs, people, you know, the economy is technically doing well, so they can spend. There is actually, the economy is growing by itself, and by so people are in position to produce, okay, the service and productivity, the services of goods, and the services, goods and goods are also, their productivity is increasing by so this brings the increment in GDP. So meaning that by so, if I'm someone trading this particular currency and I happen to see this data, this information, then I will take advantage of it and look forward buying this particular currency of this economy, because by then the country's currency is going to be gaining value. Now the question is, where do I get all this information? Like we have said, that when we are trading fundamentals, we're looking at those reports, we're looking at those figures, government releases, interpret them, and then come to a conclusion to say that this news is bad, there is an increment or there is a decrement. So if it's now your part, it's your job now to say, if there is an increment, do I buy or I sell? If there is a decrement, do I buy or do I sell? Now, after that, we need to ask ourselves, where do we get this information when we are trading? So with me today, I'll provide to you like three sources of this information where you can get it, this news, such that you're in position to interpret it very well and master it. One, we're going to go on Forex Factory. Forex Factory is a site that provides this information. So just go on Forex Factory, go to the economic calendar. You'll be in position to see all this news. Okay, so the Forex Factory helps you with the news itself, the time, the date, the impact it may cause, is it high impact or low impact, and then the data itself, the information that is with the previous forecasted and actual figures. So with you now, you need to look at this information critically. So it has helped you on the information itself, the data that is the previous forecast, and the actual data that has released, the impact. It goes further, tells you the details about this news buy. So it's going to help you know that now I should buy, I should sell, based upon the news that is to be released on such and such a date and such a time. Now, after that, now it's your job. Rather, after that, we can now also use another website, which is called investing.com. Investing.com is another website that can help you with this information that you can use, that as Forex Factory. Then we can also use, if the news is political, these websites I've given to you are not the only ones. There are quite a number of them, but then we can choose to have these. Then if the news is social, you can always watch TV stations. You can watch channels like Bloomberg channel, you can watch CNBC, you can watch CNN, and other channels for the social news, because the social news is not going to be on these websites. The social news is going to be on TV. So you can, if you happen to hear or to read any newspaper or watch any TV station where there is this news that, like for instance, World Cup is to be hosted by such and such a country, there has been a tsunami, you know, there is been a political unrest in such and such, you know, that has risen in such and such a country. So this is news that is not published onto the website, but rather from TV stations. So I've given you examples of TV stations whereby now you can probably find this information and trade it. With the major fundamentals, we said this is the major news. Just like we said, okay, there is a lot of news, economic news, but then there is that major economic news with which we're going to have our interest of. These ones are the ones that mainly impact the market, that at the point when we find this news, we're going to know, we now get to know that once unemployment comes, we know the impact is going to cause that sharp movements. If you have happened to look at the charts and you don't know what causes those sharp moves that you happenly see in the markets, they are most of the time caused by the news fundamentals. So the major news or fundamentals are the ones that usually bring such high impacts. And we're going to create a video by video for each and every individual indicator. For instance, I'll give you an example. NFP, we're going to create a video about NFP, how you trade it, how you analyze it, and all that. Then we'll also look at CPI. How do you trade CPI? You know, where do I get CPI? What usually the impact does it cause in the market? When do I buy? When do I sell? Then we proceed on with unemployment. We proceed on with the GDP. We proceed on with the interest rates. We're going to create individual videos for each and every major indicator. So with the interest of time, I've happened to, you know, in this video give you the websites where we get this information and the sources where we can get this information. And then our next video is basically going to be looking at CPI. So we're going to be showing to you, learning to you what CPI means, how do I use CPI, where do I get CPI, and all that, further to a point where we practically now can put orders. And then after that, eventually after giving you a series of major fundamentals, we shall go now to strategies on how you can trade major fundamentals. I've shared my contact. In any case you happen to find any challenges, don't hesitate to contact us. With the interest of time, allow me to stop from here. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.